Oh, everyone, welcome. So much welcome to The Sharp Way with Larry Sharp this awesome Monday evening. You are now about to listen to the most important 2 hours of your week. Yes, The Sharp Way, 8 to 10 Eastern. If you want to join the program, you can. You can call 573-427-5463 because we do this live. In case I do something stupid, you can now punish me for the rest of my life, and you will probably want to call in for a very important reason. I have someone here in the studio, man who was open enough to have me on his show like 80,000 times, who actually listened to me during my campaign. And I have him here. I'm so happy. The man, the myth, the legend himself from upstate New York, Binghamton, originally from here, but now from there, with his own podcast, No Sound Bites Allowed, the one and only Michael Vass. Thank you for coming today.
It's always a great pleasure to speak with you. I enjoy and love speaking with you.
Appreciate that. I have a crazy, maybe crazy to talk about real fast. You are a Republican. And not just that, you are a Republican of color.
Yeah.
In New York State.
Black and Puerto Rican.
Oh, my God.
I'm like checking off all kinds of boxes they can't stand.
That's correct. Yes, that's not what's supposed to happen. No. So please tell me, how does that work?
Well, it's the realization, well, a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back. My entire family, except for my youngest sister, I'm the oldest in my family, a family of 6. So everyone in my family is a Democrat.
Well, you're originally from the Bronx, right?
I'm from the Bronx.
Just like I am.
Yeah.
Heavy Democrat stronghold.
Up by Boston Road, Gun Hill. Hello, everybody out there. So everyone's a Democrat. And pretty much everyone I knew was a Democrat.
Sure.
For the most part. Or at least they thought they were when we were growing up.
Okay.
And so you followed the family line.
Absolutely.
You just grow up and, well, that's what we are.
That's what
Democrats.
we are, of course. Yep.
Of course. But then I went to the military and also college, and I started thinking about it. And it's like, well, Democrats really aren't offering me anything. They aren't doing anything. They don't line up with my view of the world and what I had experienced over the years. And it hit me back when I was a stockbroker back in my mid-20s that I suddenly realized after I came back from Russia and I saw socialism and what the democratic process was leading towards even back then. That's not what I'm about. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the freedom of individuals. I believe in the ability that government starts with us. And every time we pass a law, we only take away our freedom to
That sounds libertarian to me. Wait a minute.
It is, but it isn't. It is, but it isn't. And you know that.
I know, but you do lean libertarian. I think that's true.
On a lot of issues. On a lot of issues.
You do lean libertarian. I think that's true.
No doubt.
But let me ask you a question then. Why do so many of us, and when I say us, I mean people of color, people from the Bronx, why do so many of us in block not go to libertarian, not go to Republican, not go any place except the Democratic Party? Why do so many of us just sit there in that party?
You know, that's something I battle with on a regular basis, and I have to tell you, I think I know what it is.
Tell me.
Advertising.
Okay.
Because it's peer pressure and advertising. We are advertised to be one way.
Monolithic.
Monolithic. We have one. We don't have a choice. 2 days ago, I had a gentleman who I was just relaxing. I just came back from work. He ran into me. I was watching the football game, and he said to me, "Wait a minute, are you really a black Republican?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, yes, I am," rather strenuously. And he said, "Well, how could that be?" I said, "Well, let's stop for a second. Stop right there. Stop. If I told you you can't make a choice because of the color of your skin, you would tell me I'm crazy. Why can't you do that to me?"
No, it's a valid point.
He had no idea what to say.
It's a valid point. But hold on, let me keep going though here. Now, it's clear though, without question, in New York State.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm in a similar boat than you here, but I mean, what chance does the Republican Party have in being successful statewide in this blue of blue states, right? I mean, look, Democratic Party runs this state.
Yes, it
100% runs this state, right?
Guaranteed.
And the people who would vote non-Democrat, most of them are leaving the state. You see them constantly packing up and going away. So those who would be fighting the Yeah, I feel like if you're a Republican in New York, it's like being a Democrat in Oklahoma. Right?
Yes.
If you're a
Yes.
Democrat in Oklahoma, the odds are Republicans are going to win. They're going to control everything. You're a Democrat. Oh my God, what are you doing? I feel like if you're a Republican here, you get the same boat here, right? I mean, when are you ready to pack up and leave like every other person who doesn't like Democrats?
Well, you know me, Larry, because I love numbers. And so let me throw the numbers out there for people.
Tell me.
Since Cuomo's been in, we've lost about 1.8 million people.
Yep.
And of those 1.8 million, and that's balanced on the fact that we've actually had a bunch of illegal aliens, which are being counted.
You can't.
So
This is New York City. You can't say illegal alien.
You know what? They can come out.
I'm just saying. You can't say it's New York City.
Yeah, I know. I saw that regulation.
Absolutely.
You know what?
Yep.
If de Blasio wants to come after me, let him.
All right.
Because I'm from upstate.
Lock the doors. Lock the doors.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
So that's why you see 1.2.
Mm-hmm.
But we know for a fact, looking at Putnam County, they lost in last year, same time this year, 38,000 people, all of them in the middle class.
Yeah.
38,000.
Yes.
It's a huge number.
Absolutely.
We are
For
seeing-
Putnam specifically, yes.
Yeah, we're seeing an exodus of the middle class and predominantly Republicans. Because in 2014, Cuomo said, if you love your guns, if you love the Constitution,
remember.
if you
Yep.
love your religion, get out of the state. Well,
Yep.
we are. And guess what? We also lost $2 million, in the state budget in February because you can't tax people who aren't here.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So is there a
Cuomo tried to get people who are in Florida, though.
He's trying,
He's
but
trying
he
to
can't.
get people who aren't here. He's doing his best. Absolutely.
He's trying his best.
Yep.
But so you're right that there is a big problem. What can Republicans do when Republicans are leaving because they've been pushed out?
Mm-hmm.
And when we have a state that's trying to go towards Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, Democratic Socialist, all the way, as Tom Perez has said for the DNC.
Well, you know, there is one answer for you.
Well, there's two answers.
There's the Libertarian Party.
Well, there's two answers.
I mean, that is an answer. I mean, because Democrats will come here too. So we can
Yes.
get Democrats and Republicans. That is definitely one answer.
And I don't mind people picking either of those choices.
Okay.
You know this for me. I am I'm a conservative Republican, which is pretty hardcore. At the same time, I respect people for making a choice as long as they make the choice for a reason. And if they want to be libertarian, which I think is a great choice, I'm happy for that. And we've had great conversations. We agree on many things. We disagree on many things.
Sure.
God knows people are going to find out a lot of the things we agree and disagree with tonight. But I think that the Republican Party is not dead in New York. The problem is
Sorry, because I'm my throat. Sorry.
no, that doesn't mean that libertarians don't have a growth and that they don't have a place. I'm not discounting that because I think freedom, if we really accept what the Constitution does, what the First Amendment allows, if we really look at what's available to us, if we take power back, then you have the opportunity to have libertarians side by side with conservatives, with Republicans, with Democrats, and we can all coexist. Not progressives, not Democratic Socialists.
Not progressives.
And
okay.
not because I think that. It's because of what they think. Listen to Plot, listen to Antifa, listen to Black Lives Matter. They don't want
All right.
anyone else to exist.
Let's go to a quick call before we go. 'Cause I do want to touch the Black Lives Matters. And I do want to cover all that stuff. But I've actually we have a New Yorker up here, which is awesome. We have a New Yorker.
Fantastic.
We have Christian. He is upstate New York, I assume. He wants to talk about how we can, or should we even, split the state. So, Christian, how are you?
Hey, Larry and Mike, how are you?
Doing great. What's going on, my
Doing
friend?
well.
I just wanted to call in. I was wondering if you guys had seen, there's a particular state assemblyman, I don't remember his name offhand, but he had proposed a splitting the state into 3 autonomous regions. Obviously, it's not going to happen because it's New York and nothing happens. But wondering if something along those lines, what your thoughts would be, or anything else that would give some hope to regional autonomy within the state.
I have heard that a bazillion times. When I was running around, 3 states were supposed to be. New York City is one state. Montauk is another state, which is Long Island and like Westchester or something like that. That's Montauk.
Yep.
And then everything
New Amsterdam.
up there is New Amsterdam. Yes.
Yeah.
Of all the names I've heard from upstate, the one I love the most, which drives New Yorkers crazy, is West Vermont. I just love that name.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
I did hear that one. That one I love the most. It makes New Yorkers hate it, but I just thought it was funny when I heard it once. But no,
we used to own Vermont. That's probably why.
That's probably why. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think I understand the frustration completely. I do, because there is and I'm sure Michael, you'll agree with me on this one. There's a big difference in culture from
Massive.
upstate and downstate. In fact, even through the cities, right? I mean, even Buffalo, which is a city, Rochester, Syracuse, who are much more urban and I guess in many ways similar to New York City. But even that's different,
To
right?
an extent,
Even
to an
that's
extent,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Even that's different. So I get why they want to do it, which is why when I was running, I talked a lot about the idea of home rule, the idea of allowing each county to have a whole lot more autonomy. And the idea of ending unfunded mandates. For those of you who don't know in New York State, I don't know if you have it in your state, but in our state, we have a thing called unfunded mandates. That means the state says, oh, you in your county, you must buy A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. You must buy them, but we give you no money. So you are mandated to purchase these things and pay for them, and we won't give you money. So for many counties, 80 to 90% of their budget is already sucked up in whatever the state tells them to purchase and how to purchase it. And then they have to worry about the last 10%. So of course they're upset. They can't change the schools. They're fighting over $20,000 of a multi-million-dollar budget in certain small towns and such. My point was end unfunded mandates, put a list of what the state believes you should do, and then allow the county to copy it if it chooses to copy it. Allow other counties to change and shift if they want to, and we will learn and fix and repair from that. And if your money stays in your county, it doesn't have to go to Albany first, then come back. By default, you save money, and then you can make your own decisions. And if you're making your own decisions, you don't really care what New York City does, because New York City's being New York City and you're being you.
Well, one of the great things about when you say it like that, and that idea, is it kills corruption.
Yes.
Because when we're sending money over to Albany, and we've seen Governor Cuomo, and he has a very specific viewpoint, and he doesn't care about anyone else's viewpoint.
Correct.
Which we've already addressed a little bit. And now he's sending us back our money, and I've seen this in the Southern Tier. Look at any of the economic zones that he's put
Yes.
throughout the entire state.
Absolutely,
Which
yes.
I can't stand.
Absolutely.
Oh, look, you've got an economic zone. Look, we're giving you money. This is our money anyway. You just took
correct.
it out of the community.
Yes.
You're giving it back partially back to the community.
And making us fight for it.
And they did, and every single one of these things has failed.
Yes.
I have watched this. I have tracked this, and I have tracked in my community, which is in the Southern Tier of New York, the Broome County region. I've watched Pepsi and Coke have left with the bottling. Pepsi and Coke bottling left that region recently within the last 3 years. And they left. And then Cuomo was touting the fact that, well, we got 74 new jobs in. Well, no, those weren't 74 new jobs. There were 74 promises of jobs
right.
for his economic zone development,
Yes.
of which, and I have proven this, and I know I have the records for this, of which most, about half of those companies were already behind in the money in paying their rent and being able to sustain themselves, and 2/3 of them don't exist anymore.
Yes.
And so we have a net loss with a promise that didn't get fulfilled, and this is all on taxpayer dime.
Yes.
And it's only helping him get reelected.
This is why, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez and I agreed on something, and that was not having Amazon come here to New York. And people thought, oh, Amazon should have come to New York. Oh, my God, all these jobs and all these things and all these wonderful things would happen here in New York City.
Enough of the money.
Oh, my God.
Enough of that money.
But what I say is we're going to give them $3 billion over the course of X enough companies, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the time period was, in tax breaks and such. And when we asked our mayor, our awesome dear leader, de Blasio, when we asked him, how were you going to pay for the infrastructure around to support it, he said, we'll tax the local businesses. So we're going to tax local businesses and give the richest man in the world a massive tax break to come to New York City. And then people still said, but Larry, 25,000 jobs. I said, if I believed it, maybe. I don't even believe it. To your point, Michael, none of his schemes have worked. Zero.
Ever.
Not one ever. Never.
He's so like a perfect record of failure.
He's a perfect failure rate. There's no
Yeah.
question. So I would, in theory, maybe hear it, perhaps, if I believed it. It's never worked. Why would I think this? And here's the worst part. What would happen if Amazon came, the bribes that they came in, the money people gave to Cuomo's campaign would, of course, be the what they give back in return.
Right.
And then instead of 25,000 jobs, they do 15,000 jobs or 10,000 jobs, whatever.
Which
right?
would
Whatever they do.
probably happen.
Yes, so
Which
maybe
would
they do
probably
that. So now New York City, New York State say, you promised. What's our punishment on Amazon? Nothing.
Because otherwise they'll say, we'll leave.
Yes. So what will they do? Well, you owe us money. They'll say, we owe you $3 billion. We'll write you a check for $30 million. Have a nice day. And New York City goes, thank you, and walks away.
Yeah.
How do we know that? That's what happens every time.
It's been consistent every
Yes.
single time. And this is why we keep losing on each of these programs. And this is because we're not paying attention to what our leaders are doing. We're allowing them to get away with this. Cuomo should never have been getting away with this. We should never allow that. And
But how do you stop? See, my issue here is we have a zero-sum game thought process, right? That, well, don't you want investment, Michael? Why do you hate poor communities?
No,
Don't you want
no.
investment? That's the mindset.
No,
and my
no.
point is, I do want investment, but I don't want it from the government. I don't want taxpayer-funded investment. I want actual investment. And I remember when we talked about how this is going to be so awesome, how it's going to be so good to fix all these things and all this government investment in Utica. Remember Utica?
Yeah, I remember well.
There's a
Nano
hospital.
Center.
Oh, yes.
As well as the center, the hospital, which
Yep.
is up in Oneida County.
Absolutely.
Which is a question of St. Luke's versus the downtown hospital. And I know this very well.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
of course, people said, oh my God, you have to put the hospital. It's a great investment. And I said, awesome. It's a great investment. If it's such a great investment, why do you require taxpayer money? If it's a wonderful investment, why aren't New York City bankers rushing up there with checkbooks open saying, oh my God, I can't wait to give you money? Because literally these guys in New York City, their job is to find good investments. So why wouldn't they rush up there and start writing checks?
Well, let me give your listeners a little bit of background on this so
Please
they
tell
know
me.
exactly what it is.
Go ahead.
So we have 5 people in government who decided that they wanted to have a hospital, a new hospital in the Utica area, which is in Oneida County. Okay, which
Central New
includes-
York, for those of you who don't know. Central New York.
Central New York. And this is in the New York 22nd District. This was before Anthony Brindisi became congressman. It was back when he was an assemblyman. He was one of the 5 people, including Mayor Palmieri and county executive.
Oh, don't kill us in
Pacente.
many details. It's okay.
I know them. I know.
I know you do.
Well, you know me.
I know you,
I know
Joe.
the details. So anyway, these 5 guys decide that they're going to put a hospital in. And against all advice, they decide they're going to put it in downtown Utica.
Yes.
Which makes no sense whatsoever because there's a hospital already there, St. Luke's, which they could do for cheaper to upgrade and make it better.
And they're going to use eminent domain.
To take away all the property.
Yes. So over
Massive
30
problem.
businesses will go under.
Including nonprofits.
That's correct. Including
nonprofits.
Yes, that's
Two
correct.
nonprofits. And it's gone from $300 million for the taxpayers to currently it's $600 million for the taxpayers, not including a parking garage, which is all taxpayer.
There we go.
And if this was such a great idea, if this was so wonderful, because they keep thinking that, well, everyone's going to go to restaurants and to shopping because they have a hospital next door. I've been to Montefiore. I've been to hospitals all over. I don't know anyone who says, hey, you know what? When I had my leg broken and I was in the bone center down here in Manhattan, I didn't remember anyone who came to see me said, you know what? We'll be right back. We're going to go down to Bon-Ton and go and buy a couple of jeans.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
this
going to
is
see you,
stupid.
but they're just amazing restaurants out here. So we're not going to go. Yeah, exactly.
And why take away someone's property for that?
There's the worst part.
Which is,
There's the
it's
worst
no justification.
Absolutely.
This is the problem when we have politicians in a single party who have total control, who have no accountability,
Yes.
and decide, well, we're just going to do it because we can.
Yep.
And the same problem with Amazon. I mean, really, if we really want to improve this state, and we really need to, then if we're going to use taxpayer funds, How about we give it to the businesses that already exist?
Absolutely.
If I have to
Yes.
give taxpayer money to somebody,
Yep.
I want to give it to an existing business that's been there for the last 20 years and let them expand and grow.
Absolutely.
Why am I going to take a risk on a new business that has no idea if it's going to work or not, or something that some politician and his committee decided, oh, well, this sounds great for us
100%.
in donations.
Absolutely.
Doesn't necessarily make sense for the community, and we're going to run with that until it fails.
Well,
Why?
let me touch the other part that he brought up also, and this is the idea of New York City versus upstate. When it comes to voting, it isn't just New York City versus upstate. It's all of the cities versus most of rural. Right, most of the
Yes.
cities upstate
Yes.
are actually blue. Right, they're not the same culture as New York City. New York City is a separate monster.
To different
itself.
degrees. To
It
different
is.
degrees, yeah.
So anyway, let me go on the call if I could. I'm gonna go to Indiana. Is where we're
Tommy,
gonna go.
yeah.
We're gonna go to Indiana. This is Tommy. Tommy has called in the past. I think it's the
has?
same Tommy. I assume so. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but Tommy is gonna talk about cyber security. That's what he's gonna talk about. Tommy, are you there?
Yeah, Larry, I'm here, buddy.
How are you, sir?
Man, I am doing great down here in Indiana. Everything's going real good. Actually, glad I got through to talk to you.
Yeah, but you bring up didn't you talk to me about cybersecurity like 3 weeks ago or something?
Yeah, with Deborah.
Yes,
But,
that's right.
it's-
Yes.
Okay.
It's interesting that you titled the show Upstate versus Downstate
Mm-hmm.
because and I wanted to ask Mike tonight,
Yes.
when you look at the merging of people getting elected to office and they're taking on the cybersecurity role,
Mhm.
is it vital, Mike, in your opinion, that the upstate and the downstate, regardless of what state you're in, that both sections, north and south, or upstate or downstate, are not only on the same page, but they're sharing intel with each other to make each other better?
Okay, let me think of it. Let me rephrase that a little bit, because it's not upstate, downstate. It's not north, south. It's the public. Are they informed, and are they properly informed? Which generally, in almost every state I've seen, the answer is no. Most people, the majority of people, especially in New York, I mean, we have between 38 and 42% of the people are actually going out and voting, and that's in an election year with the president.
Mm-hmm.
And without the president, it's even lower.
Yes.
Where we are normally somewhere between 42 and 50 in voting. And many states, you're in Indiana, and you actually have a much better state. People actually show up and vote. But we're seeing in Democratic strongholds like California, New York, a couple of others, Chicago, Illinois, people don't show up and vote.
Mm-hmm.
There's your problem. So it's not so much the rural versus the city. It's what do we really know about what's going on? How involved are people? Once you step away from that, because if you have people who are involved, the answer is, well, yeah, we're all going to work together to get the same goal, because what helps New York City helps upstate. Like I said, let's reinvest in businesses that exist. Why am I giving money to Amazon? I could take that same money and we can give it to 30,000 businesses.
Sure.
And add 2 to 3 new employees in every single business. And guess what? Every community in New York State is going to benefit
And
from
could
that
use it.
far more
Absolutely.
than just having Amazon have that
Yeah,
money. So if
absolutely.
I have to do that, I want to give it to the 30,000 businesses rather than one.
Yeah.
So that's what I see as the difference there. Does that answer your question, Tommy?
Yeah, actually it does,
Yeah.
Mike, and it kind of gives me a different way to go about it. So, man, I appreciate you
Tommy,
taking
hold
the call,
on.
Larry.
Tommy, hold on. I want to bring something up here. And the idea of rural versus urban, upstate versus downstate, wherever you are. If you're in Illinois, your upstate is Chicago and your downstate is more rural, right? It's
Yeah.
reversed than in New York,
Right.
But either way, the issue that I want is I always, to the best of my ability, I want diversity of thought with singularity of purpose. Whenever I can get that, I want that. If I can get diversity of thought with singularity of purpose, I have the best chance of actually gaining whatever goal I'm trying to achieve. So I do want everyone working together, but the question is, how do you do that? There are two important issues. One, do we actually have a goal? right? Is there a goal, or are we just going, we're afraid? And right now we're afraid. And when we say we're afraid, this is human nature. When people are afraid, they make bad decisions. One of those decisions is either they cry for a strong man or they cry for socialism, because those are the things that seem to make sense when they're afraid. I want us to not be afraid, Tom. And I'm glad you keep bringing up cybersecurity, because in my view, that's one of the most pressing issues that we have, more than, bombs falling. I don't want bombs falling, but when bombs fall, that's bad, but we can rebuild that. But when our entire grid collapses, that's devastating, and more people will die from our grid collapsing than from a bomb falling.
I disagree with you.
Please
Larry.
tell me.
I got to tell you why I disagree.
Tell me.
Although I understand the concept, and Tommy may disagree with me on this. Tell me if you do. What I think is the biggest problem is we're falling into the Venezuela trap.
Okay.
Okay, and when I say that is Second Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a massive Second Amendment advocate.
As am I.
And I know you are.
Mm-hmm.
Red flag laws, the Safe Act of New York, all of these regulations. We have, I don't know, in the last 30 years, we have roughly 100 new regulations in New York State alone that are there to punish people who are law-abiding citizens. And we know for a fact, looking at the statistics, 99.9994% of all lawful gun owners, 160 million people in America owning 350 million guns, follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we're punishing them. And the reason why we see this, I believe, the Democratic Socialists, this movement towards socialism that Tom Perez, DNC chairman, has promoted, is that if you take away people's ability to defend themselves from the government can then turn around and do whatever it wants. And as in the case of Venezuela over the last 2 years, according to the New York Times, 5,276 people have been killed when they said, well, you can't do that. And the government said, well, sure we can, because you don't have a way to defend yourself. Cybersecurity is a big threat from outside the state.
Yes.
But I think the bigger threat is inside the state. And I think that takes its form in destroying the Second Amendment, as we hear people trying to do. And again, calling for, as you said, I want to be safe. I want to feel safe.
I'm not sure we're disagreeing on this.
Well, we don't always disagree.
I'm not sure we're disagreeing on this. I assumed, and tell me if I was wrong, I assumed you meant cybersecurity from an outside threat. That was my assumption. Was my assumption incorrect, or was my assumption correct?
Well, to be honest with you, you're both right. Because
look at that, we're both right.
Look
at that.
The more and more research I do, and the more I learn every day, and Larry, you said it before, learning is an everyday thing.
Absolutely.
If you're not learning, you're losing.
Yep.
Everything I am learning right now is the internal threats are just as big, if not bigger, than the outside threat.
No doubt that's true.
And the one internal threat that we have going today for cybersecurity, and it doesn't matter whether it's a city, whether it's a county, whether it's a state, is ransomware. And basically, Mike hit it right on the head. And I like the fact that he uses the Second Amendment, because if they take away our ability to defend ourselves, and they don't inform the public about, hey, this is how we can do this to prevent this, they are literally going to fall victim to ransomware, and they're going to have to pay money they don't have. They're going to go into further debt, and it's only going to cause chaos.
I like it. That's good. Tommy,
agree with
that was
that.
not bad. Thank you for that, my brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tommy.
Not a problem. You guys have a great night. Thanks for taking the call.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, good. That was great. I think that internally, I think both go to fear, though, right? The core is still fear.
That is the core.
Right?
That is absolutely it.
People are rushing for either the strongman dictator and or socialism. By the way, they both wind up equaling dictatorship either
Same
way.
point.
They go the different ways, but they get to the same spot because of fear. When you have people who aren't afraid, and how do you make someone not afraid? Generally speaking, you focus them. Right? You focus the person on a certain thing to move forward.
Inform them.
But that can make them more scared.
I don't think so.
If you're just going, look at all the evil stuff out there, that's informing them.
No.
And now they're even more scared, right?
Okay.
So you've got to make sure you're focusing them on the right thing. Go ahead.
Let me qualify that. So it's not just informing them about the isolated event you want to, because that's what they're doing right now.
Absolutely.
Here's the information. Aren't you terrified? And again, I go back to the Second Amendment because it's a very clear example of this. Oh my God, mass shootings are terrible. This is a problem. We have to do something about that. Except they leave out the fact that mass shootings have been happening since 1965. They leave out the fact that the average of mass shootings in the United States have been 20 per year, every year, with 100 people being killed every year. They leave out the fact that this is the lowest category of death in the United States, according to the CDC. They leave that out. So you're getting a fact, but they're taking it out. And they take out things like, oh, we have to have red flag legislations, which I really, really hate. We got to talk about that.
Absolutely.
But
yes,
because it has lots of ramifications that destroy liberty, and you know that.
Yes.
But then they're telling people, okay, we have to have these mass shootings. We have to have red flag legislations. But they're leaving out the fact that, okay, look at Florida, which had its... And what was their recommendation? We're going to put armed resource officers in the schools to protect the kids, in addition to some of the other things that they've done. And New York State's going, see, they went with red flags, so we have to have a red flag too. No, that's not what they did.
Not at all.
That's not what they did.
Absolutely.
So it's the quality of the information, and this falls back on voters. You have to say, be informed enough to go, well, wait a minute, that's not right. You're not giving me the full story. There's more information here. I mean, that's what I do with No Sound Bites Allowed. Yes. I'm going to drop a plug here. No Sound Bites Allowed. And that's one of the things I do is I look at the things that the major media is not talking about, or the what I like to call the and then what.
Well, I know you gave me time to speak many times on your show, so thank you.
Yes. Oh, of course. And I always will.
Thank you. So let me grab the call if I can.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm going to go to Cleveland. We are all over
I love
the
National
today. I love that.
I love
We're
that.
going to head over to Cleveland, and we're going to see if we can get Luke, and he wants to talk about how to get youth into libertarianism. That is an interesting one. So, Luke, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What's going on? Talk to me, my friend.
So I'm from the Freedom Society. We're a student libertarian ideology-based organization.
Okay.
At
Congratulations.
In Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
We just to get your opinion on what do both of you think? What do you see as a viable way to spread ideas about freedom and liberty government to young people who seemingly they're increasingly in favor of leftist, socialist ideologies?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a couple ways I think that you deal with this. If you look at the average Republican or Democrat, young, most of them, what they actually want is something different. That's what they actually want is something different. Think about 2016. Think about how many people who supported Bernie, and then when Bernie was out, they went to Trump. That shouldn't, in theory, be true. But that absolutely happened. And it happened because Bernie, when it came to the left, was the outsider, right? He was not the establishment Hillary was. Trump, when it came to the right, was also the outsider. He was not the establishment. So you found people who were Bernie bros who actually, when 2016 came, wound up after he lost the primary, went over to Trump, and they didn't really care what the actual policies were. They wanted something different. So the first thing to think of is we've got to be something different. That's number one. If we're not different, the youth aren't going to go there. But the second piece, I was talking to a young lady, this is probably 2 weeks ago, upstate New York. Probably she's 18, 19 is my guess how old she was. And she said, I don't know. She looked emo, right? She looked at that style, how she was dressed. And she said, I don't know. I think maybe I'm a communist. I said, okay. I said, let me ask you, why do you think that? Well, I just think people should get this and people should get that. And I said, if I hear you right, what you mean is you really want things to be fair, right? And she went, yeah, that's what I want. I want things to be fair. I think the way we're able to touch the youth is by one, being different, and then two, talking about fairness and letting them know that the only way to fairness is not government. That's not the only way to get there, and they believe it's the only way to get there.
Well, I would say this as well, and I just had literally last week. I was one of the featured speakers at the Binghamton University, and I was doing a speech with a couple of other associates, colleagues, on communism and socialism, something that I know about because I've lived in Moscow.
Sure.
And one of the things that we need to do when we're addressing youth, people who are asking the question is, well, first, let me let you know what are some of the questions you might want to ask to find out if you have a credible source. Like one of the things I always love to say, if someone's telling you socialism is the best answer ever, first thing you should ask them, have you ever lived in a socialist system? I have. I personally have lived a year and a half.
It wasn't done the right way, Mike.
Well, you know what?
It wasn't done the right way.
That's the excuse.
Come on.
That's always the excuse.
Of course it is.
We have a better way to do it. Of course you do. Yes. Except every time someone has said that, it's always wound up in the same failure every time. So, but you have to understand, let's qualify the source. What you're saying, oh, socialism is great. Great. Have you lived in a socialist nation? No. Oh, okay. Have you ever, you visited for a week, a day, 3 days? You went there like Jay-Z or Michael Moore with a multi-million-dollar package to be able to be toured around? Let me qualify what we're getting.
Yeah, but the answer they will always give you, though, every time is, yeah, but see, capitalism has failed. It's not working here. People are poor. People are unhappy.
Show me a success of socialism. Show me a success of socialism.
What they
will say,
you know this, Mike. They're going to tell you, yeah, but, we got to do something. This isn't working.
Well, no.
That's going to be their response.
Because that's a stupid answer. And I will say
Generally
this.
Speaking, when you call people stupid, they don't agree with you.
Well, they won't agree with me, but that's okay. They don't agree with me already. I'm a black Republican.
Okay.
So, but the answer is, we have to be honest with people. We have to be direct with them. And sometimes that means we have to be harsh with them. And that means that we have to tell them, no, doing something doesn't mean you've done the right thing. Doing something is a panic reaction.
That's true.
It's an emotion.
Sure. Yes.
And we see a lot of emotion out there.
Absolutely.
We must do something. Do, go. Well, wait a minute. Where am I going? Am I running into the fire or am I running out of the fire?
But I think people would rather run into the fire than just stand there.
Well,
which is why my point to Luke was, I want to talk about the idea of fairness, but there's a third level to this. I don't need to win the argument. I don't need to win the debate. I don't even have to be right. Good leaders know you don't have to be right now.
Yeah.
You can be right later. And when I left that conversation with that girl, did I make her libertarian? I wish I did, but I didn't. But she literally said, words out of her mouth is, no, I'm not a communist. That's a win.
No, that is an absolute win.
That's a win. I've made one step closer to the ideas of freedom, one step closer, and I'll take that. Hopefully over the course of time, she'll see us, she'll think about libertarians and go, you know what, maybe these guys aren't so bad. Luke, I think the answer is it's not one conversation. It's dozens of conversations, multiple conversations. And if you ever see me, one reason why I have this show is because I want to talk to people who aren't full libertarians, who lean a little bit here or there, and we can have some conversations and we can share audiences. And I think it's a part of doing it. I want to get more people to look at the Libertarian Party and the Liberty Movement and go, they aren't crazy. They're actually okay. Well, you know what? They're okay.
Yeah.
Luke, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, actually, because we have about 15 members of our club that come and participate. We only have 2 people that consider themselves libertarian, so I think that's definitely a point you made there.
Well, there's an issue that happened right here in Queens. You'll know this. There was a woman who was running for DA of Queens. Her name was, was not anymore, Tiffany Caban.
Okay. Yeah.
Tiffany Caban is literally Democratic Socialist.
Yeah.
Right? And proud. Loves AOC, all about that. 100% about that.
All the way.
However, she was running for DA, and what she was going to control in when it came to criminal justice actually aligned pretty well with libertarian principles, right? Everything else she talked about didn't, but that did. I reached out to her, and I was like, God, do you want me to help out? Do you want me to help support you? You're non-establishment. You're actually talking about getting rid of cash bail. You're talking about the things that I care about, criminal justice reform that libertarians care about. Yes, I was considering helping to support someone who was a member of the DSA because they could actually help us in that one issue. She wouldn't even respond to me. None of her team, nothing. She lost the primary by only a couple hundred votes. All she had to do was open up literally by a couple of hundred votes. It was a recount. She lost in a recount. All she had to do was go, you know what? Yeah, Larry, I'm in. Let's help out. I could have gotten her a couple of hundred votes in Queens, and she'd be the DA tomorrow.
Look, something I want to also mention to you, because this is something that's going on at Binghamton University, at Broome County, SUNY Broome, a couple of the colleges in Southern Tier. Libertarians there, I speak with them on a regular basis. And it's not because I'm a Republican trying to change their mind.
Yes, you are.
The answer, no.
Yes, you are.
No.
It's fine. I still love you, but I know you are.
If they do, that's fantastic. But I'm not necessarily. The biggest thing I say to them is, let's have conversations. Let's have open forums.
Yes.
Let's open up a forum. They'll invite me and they'll invite someone else. I'm like, bring the left, bring plot progressive leaders of tomorrow. Bring Antifa. I don't care. Let's sit down and let's have the conversation. Let you guys listen and have the opportunity to ask us questions about what we believe, and then make your decision based on the information you're hearing. And I've seen, and I believe, and so far it has been successful for libertarians and Republicans alike at the school, that they're getting more information and they're getting more encouraged, and I'm seeing more of them come in. I've done 3 events over at Binghamton University and the colleges out there, and they're coming out in droves now because someone is talking to them, someone is answering their questions, even when they don't agree.
Them, getting angry, not just getting angry at them.
No,
actually talking.
No, it's a conversation.
Yes,
and even when they don't agree with me, and I've had lots of people come afterwards and go, "Mike, I don't agree with you at all." Okay. That's fine.
But you're not a one-word story. You're a human being.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we get to, and you're not alone, Luke.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
Absolutely. Good. Luke, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. All right, I'm going to stick to the phones if you're okay with that.
I'm perfect.
All right,
fine.
we're gonna go back to New York. We're gonna go back to New York. We're talking about the 2020 LP, which sometimes drives me crazy, but that's okay. I'm happy. I said I'll take every call. I'll take them all. We're gonna grab Dan from New York. Dan, how are you?
Hi, Larry. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Talk to me, my friend.
So, Larry, Mike, this question is for the both of you. We're about a year out from the 2020 election, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on who you think the Libertarians will nominate for president going into next year.
Well, I'm going to give you I'm going to go down a road which I think may make Mike go crazy, but I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to walk down this road. Number one, I think the Democrats are really in trouble because they are not paying attention to the American public. Trump should, in theory, not in practice, in theory, he should be losing badly. He should be. He's under attack from impeachment, but he's not. It's simply not happening, and it should be. And I think most of this is the Democratic fault of their not paying attention, they're not listening to the people, and they're jumping on a base. They're not doing what Bill Clinton did very well. I'm not a Clinton fan. He completely screwed me over. But I'm telling you, he was smart. Bill Clinton basically said, I'm not worried about the left. They're going to vote for me anyway. I'm going to move to the center right away. I'm going to move towards the right even, and I'm going to get more votes. And the Democrats are going, we're going to triple down on left as left could be. And they're doing that, and I think they're alienating a lot of people. And I know that because I live in New York City. I know lots of Democrats. And many of them say the same thing. They say things like, I don't know if I'm a Democrat anymore. I can't take these. These are Democrats who go, I can't take these liberals. Democrats say that, right? They're supposed to be liberals, and they're the ones saying, can these liberals? So I think that's a problem for them. The only person I think at the moment, I think there are 2 people who could beat Trump that have any chance of victory. And I think Biden can still beat Trump. I think he can.
No.
And I think Buttigieg can beat Trump. I think those are the only 2. And I tell you, Mike's already shaking his head. He's like, you're crazy. I knew it would drive him crazy.
Okay.
I think those are the only 2 guys who can beat Trump. I think if they elect anybody else of those who could possibly win, I think Trump can still win this thing. But let me be very clear on something. There is only one minor thing I put there. If Trump actually comes close to being removed in the Senate, then I'm sorry, second. Oh, just go out to the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because I'm going to come back to you on.
Yes, I know I'm pretty crazy.
It's going to go because you're way wrong.
If Trump comes close to getting removed in the Senate, I don't think he'll get removed, but if he comes close to being removed from the Senate, then there may be a chance that some Republicans may think he's not Teflon Don anymore. So I think that might hurt Trump. So I'm thinking that's an issue on both the Democrats and Republicans. I know people that think I'm crazy when I say that, but that's what I believe. When it comes to libertarians, I think the person who's probably going to get the nomination, if you look at what's happened in our past, it's probably someone who isn't even running yet. That's what's happened in the past. My gut tells me, and only because I look at the delegate class of the LP, and for those of you who don't know, there's a class of people who show up as delegates, right? Those people who can afford to pack up and take a couple of days off and hang out in Austin or wherever they're going to be and sit there and vote and do those types of things. And that class tends to want to do what is safe. That's what they tend to want to do. It's not 100% rule, but they tend to. So my gut tells me there's going to be some Democrat or Republican who loses in the first couple of primaries and says, hey, Libertarian Party, that's a way to get on the ballot. And they'll come over and they'll promise money. And I think that the delegates, sadly, will probably vote for that person. I think that person may actually win. I don't doubt if it's someone. I don't doubt if it's going to be one of the Republicans who lose against Trump in the New Hampshire primary or one of those primaries. I don't doubt if it'll be one of them, and then one of them loses in the primary against Trump in New Hampshire, then decides they want to become libertarian. They join our party in March or whenever that is. They show up at the convention, and then we vote them in. I mean, that I hate that being true, but I could see that happening. Did I answer your question at least?
Well,
it does, but as long as it's not Bill Weld.
I think Bill Weld could do it. And let me tell you what I believe Bill Weld's goal is. I think, and I don't know this, I haven't spoken to him, but I believe he wants to do very well against Trump in New Hampshire because it's an open primary. So if he can get independents and Democrats to come and vote in the Republican primary, he can make a good showing against Trump, maybe get 20, 30% even. I mean, it's possible if he can do that by getting these other people in. If he does that, that's his goal. If he achieves that, he can then drop out, come to libertarians and say, look what I did against Trump in New Hampshire. I can easily get 5% for you guys. And libertarians go, yay, and we bring him back. So I'm not, I hate to say it. I know some people are probably mad at me right now. I can imagine Facebook exploding right now. But that actually could happen.
Well, let me jump into that.
Please, go ahead. Yes.
And I apologize, by the way. I've been traveling all day, 5 hours on buses.
I dragged him from upstate New York. Thank you for coming.
No, I love it.
Yes.
But I apologize to you and to the listeners. Had to jump out for a second. So, no, I don't think Buttigieg cannot win, nor can Biden. They have no chance.
No chance. What are you talking about?
They have no chance. They have no chance.
Biden's literally winning in the polls right now.
No, he's not.
And he's
no, he's not.
Flubbing like there's no tomorrow, and he's still winning in polls.
Right, and so did Clinton. So let's throw that out the window because it's not realistic. Who are they asking, and how are they asking the question?
Always an issue.
Okay,
agreed.
And that's the polling.
Always an issue.
We know that, and they're trying to create an image that there's a problem. And they're looking at impeachment. Oh, why are they still looking at impeachment? Because they've been looking at impeachment for 3.5 years now before he even got elected. It was April, article was in Politico, April of 2016, before the election even happened. They were talking about can Trump be impeached. They've been on this road for forever. They have no cause. But the reality is the public likes Trump. He's real. And libertarians are real. You're real. You did very well in New York. You could do well nationally. People have talked about that because there is a certain reality there. What we've seen is a disconnect between politicians who actually deal with real people talking about real issues.
Absolutely.
The Democratic Party isn't talking about that.
Well, no, Yang is. He just can't win. But Yang is.
No, he is. And he's talking about, let me buy you really cheap.
No,
he's the
talking
worst
about real problems people are scared of.
He's the worst mathematician I've ever heard of in my life, and he's talking about racism, and he's able to do it because I'm an Asian, so I know math. You know what? I say that. Guess what? They're going to lose their minds.
It's true.
But
I'm
says
black.
it.
I know math. Does that work? I'm not sure.
Exactly. There you go.
Yes.
The ultimate test of whether it's racist or not. So let's throw him out because he has no idea what he's talking about. He can't do math. Let's really look at this. They're not offering anything except gender identity
Lots
politics.
of free stuff. No, they're offering so much free stuff.
That's a trap. That's a
trap.
trap.
But people like free stuff.
People
Come
like,
on.
you know what?
People love free stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to sit here and tell me people don't love free stuff.
Of course they do. Like they like candy and they get diabetes.
Yes.
You know what?
In droves.
Doesn't mean that you're getting something for nothing. You're getting something and there's a consequence to it. What Trump is offering isn't that trap. He's saying, okay, you're not going to like what I have to say. I'm going to say it anyway. And when I don't see Bill Weld coming out and saying, hey, I've got something that's even better. I'm going to give you even more truth, and you're going to like it even more. I don't see that.
What Bill Weld does, or whomever, I've used Bill Weld because
we're using him. He's
right.
popular.
Whomever that person might be in the Republican, he's just going to be I'm not Trump, and so the part of the party that doesn't like Trump, give me that percentage, whatever that percentage is.
Yeah, but they're out there already, and they're getting nothing.
Hold on, but they haven't. And they're saying, hey, if you're a Democrat and hate Trump, come vote for me to get, to punch Trump in the gut. There's enough Democrats who hate Trump who would do that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Look, we all know that in the Republican base, Trump's popular. That's true.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of Democrats who would absolutely abandon their own primary and to vote against Trump. That would happen. The question is how many.
Well, are you going to keep these people? Are they really? And I don't know that they're open-minded enough to stay with it. I'm not against, again, I'll say this, and I've said this a little bit before, but I'll say it again. I'm not against libertarians growing. I think it's good for Republicans. I think it's good for America. I think a third party works because it makes everyone honest. It makes people work harder to do the best job. I have no problem with that. So I want libertarians to do that. How many hours have I spent with you promoting you and making sure you have a voice out there?
Absolutely.
Because I think it's better for everyone at the end of the day.
So then make a call. You think Trump's obviously going to be the nominee, you believe, obviously for Republicans,
Hands down.
How about for Democrats?
Democrats right now? Well, I'm sticking by my prediction that I made in October of 2018.
Which was?
It's going to be Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris because they're going to go with all women, with a woman of color to go against President Trump because he's a misogynist and evil. That's their selling point. He's an evil misogynist.
If that's true, Trump's definitely going to win. There's no way that Warren could beat Trump.
Exactly.
No way. Kamala Harris either.
Yes.
There's no way they could beat Trump.
But that's all they're going for.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg has nothing to go from. What is he? He's a mayor who's gay. That's his only thing.
No, he's a veteran, which is nice. He's an executive, even though it's small.
That's not what they're putting out there.
He is the opposite, but they'll change. I'm telling you, if Buttigieg wins this thing,
he's not going to win.
I think you're right. I don't think he's going to win. But I'm saying
he's at 3%.
If Buttigieg, no, he's not. No, he's now he's in double
3.6%.
He's in double digits now in his own primary. Yeah, he is. Buttigieg is now in double digits.
Real Clear Politics, national polling average, 3.6%. Screw Iowa. It doesn't matter.
Iowa's the first one. Screw it. You can't screw it. Come on.
No. What we're looking at is the national.
If he wins Iowa,
he won't win
He's got a shot.
He's not going to win Iowa.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. I don't know. All I'm saying is Buttigieg, they will spin him. He's got a shot. You know why? Because Buttigieg can act like the outsider that Trump is. He can act that way. The rest of them all, they're all establishment. Yang can act that way, Gabbard can act that way, and Buttigieg can act that way. Look, the rest can't.
Let's be honest. Okay, they started with 20 people who really were not in there. This field has always been 6 Democrats, and that's all it's ever been. And it's whittled down already from that. What they've been doing is looking at target groups because they believe in micro-categorization.
Yes.
That you're black? Well, we have a black candidate for you. You're gay? We have a gay candidate for you.
Yep.
You're a woman? We have a couple of women candidates for you,
100%.
whether you're gay, straight, or person of color. This is what they're looking for to raise the money so that they can come after Trump.
I completely agree. Okay. And it's not necessarily a bad plan.
I'm not saying it's a bad plan, but this is a plan.
Without that plan, Trump wins for sure. With that plan, if it works, they can beat Trump if it works.
But they don't have anyone who's got anything besides just being that category. And that's the problem. They're looking at people as categories. You and I, and we've had this conversation, they're looking at you and me. We don't count as individuals.
No.
We're black, straight men.
That's
period.
correct.
Stop. And we're old.
That's correct. Yep.
Done.
Yep. We have to vote for Biden.
So we have to. We have no choice.
Have to. That's how it works. Yes.
And they can't see anything beyond that. So when they see, it's going to be 2 women against Trump because he's a misogynist, according to them, and that women, of course, are better than men, and a woman of color on the ticket is better than just a man, Pete Buttigieg can't get in there. And Joe Biden, Mr. Gaff Machine, who is like the worst thing ever.
Come on, Trump is a gaff machine too. Come on now. They're both gaff machines.
In different ways.
They're both gaff machines. Come on.
In different ways.
Yes.
And I want to take Twitter away from Trump.
You're not the only Republican
from
who's
day
that.
one.
Yes. I don't know. Did we go out of the way, Dan? Did I answer your question, Lisa, or no?
I mean, in a sense, yes, but there's a lot of talk also that Hillary might get back in the 2020.
No,
Not
that's
gonna
not going to
happen.
happen. Nope,
Nope.
not going to happen.
Nope.
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 Not going to happen. Nope.
Why not?
She's done.
She's finished. No, she's finished. No, she's writing books now.
She's toast.
She's writing books. She's finished. She's not. She's going to still try to have power. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's still going to try to have influence. I think that's true. That's why she did that. She did a brilliant attack on Tulsi Gabbard, which wasn't an attack on Tulsi Gabbard. It was actually an attack on us.
Mm-hmm.
Because she talked about, that they're setting up for a third-party spoiler. That was an attack on the Libertarian Party. It was brilliantly done by Hillary Clinton. I hate it, but I can still recognize it was a brain attack, even though I can't stand it. It wasn't actually focused on Tulsi because she doesn't care about Tulsi. It was focused on any third party because Democrats look. If you're a Republican, you think Democrats are dumb. If you're a Democrat, you think Republicans are dumb. Neither is dumb.
Right.
The reality is Democrats are trying their best to make sure everything lines up so they can beat Trump, and a third party gets in their way. So they got to try to get rid of them also. That's what they're trying to achieve. And I get it. If I was Democrat, I'd be thinking the same way, right? I get what they're trying to do.
You have to, according to the politics.
You'd have to. I get that completely. So, but I guess to answer your original question, I'm not necessarily happy about someone jumping into the Libertarian Party in the last minute. I just, to be full with you, that's what's happened in the past. I think it may happen again.
They need to be out there now. They got to be out there 2 weeks after November elections.
The problem is, I think
real.
most people most people believe the Libertarian Party is going to get hammered in 2020.
Yes.
And because of that, many of them aren't running seriously. They just want to try to get
just means-
5% or something like that, which is the wrong way to run.
Yeah.
And
you got to run with the intent to win.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mike, Larry, is it because that the Libertarian Party, are we not ambitious enough to succeed, or is it just the bare minimum that we...
No, I think we are. The problem is, to be forward with you, and this is a thing that Democrats and Republicans don't have the same issues we have. We have several issues that slow us down. Number one, we have a severe lack of talent. We simply don't have enough heavy hitters out there who could take on this task and make it happen. Right? Could someone like me do it? Not after a gubernatorial run, I can't. But there shouldn't just be me. There should be 5, 6, 10 of me. So that when I do the gubernatorial run and I get burned out, here comes Jane Doe and she does her presidential run. And then here comes Phil Smith and he does his next congressional run. But we don't have that deep bench of people who can do that. We also don't have the donor base that also. This takes tons of money. You know, there was someone I know who talked about, how could someone in a third party actually win 270 votes? And someone came up with this idea that it's possible, but they'd have to raise over $2 billion and run 2 years out. That's the only way they could do it.
Yeah.
And that isn't a guarantee. It's maybe.
No, but that makes sense.
Yes,
according to the math, yes.
Correct.
That works.
And no third party, not all the third parties combined have a $2 billion donor base. We don't have it. So I think we look at that and we also don't have the infrastructure, right?
No.
It's another issue. Infrastructure to get out there and make that and to knock on doors in Iowa and every place. I mean, we don't have the
Mailers
infrastructure.
that have to go out.
Mailers that have to go out. So
news releases.
It is an ambition. I mean, I tried to become governor of New York. That's ambitious.
Right.
Right? So we have ambition. I think we're lacking infrastructure, donors, and talent. And I think if we can draw more of that in the next couple of years, we've got a shot at making this happen. Did that make sense?
It does.
It's one of the reasons why you will see me support candidates who aren't very libertarian in certain ways. Because I'm trying to make it an open party to have more talent come in so that people who are more libertarian can see how to run, can learn how to run, can actually begin to build that infrastructure, who can jump on someone's campaign and learn. So I'm trying to build my farm team.
Once your party, the Libertarians, gains that experience and gains that capability, because and I agree with you, those are the 3 areas you're weak in.
Absolutely.
And if your party gains that, then you become highly competitive.
Absolutely.
And money falls into your lap
100%.
at that point.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yes.
And that's just political fact.
Yeah.
Which is why they don't want you to get that.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. So did that now answer your question?
Yeah, I guess. I guess
Awesome.
I'm still, looking for,
I would like an
Well, I
awesome
think
answer
some-
too. I would too. I don't know if we're going to get it, but
It's too early yet.
I hope so. We'll see. Thanks for
Yeah.
the call, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Larry.
Awesome. All right, I want to move to we're talking about the national debt. A little bit off, but this one at least we can beat Trump up on too. So that'll make you angry because we can beat up Trump on this one. So we'll go towards the national debt. We have Pete. Pete, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
What's going on, my friend?
Not much. I calling to actually talk to ask Mike a question about
Sure.
why the Republican Party
Knew we beat you up on this
as
one.
far as the Senate and Congress are only really conservative when there's a Democrat in office.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Trump in office, and the debt just continues to climb. And other than a few congressmen and senators like Amash and Paul,
Massey.
most of them don't even seem to care about the national debt anymore.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, let's address this properly. Yes. Is it any party when they're in power? Do they care less about the debt than when the other guys are? Absolutely true. Do Republicans still care about the debt while they're in power or out of power? Yes, they do.
No, stop. Come on.
Wait. No, I know you want to pick on this, but
I
let's
do.
actually really think about this.
I do.
Because what we're seeing is the growth, and mind you, too much spending by Congress altogether. I'm not going to deny that.
Yep.
Congress spends too much money. Congress spends less money under Republicans than it does under Democrats. We slow down the debt under Republicans than under Democrats.
I'm not sure that's true.
That is actually true. And if you actually look at the numbers over President Obama actually doubled the national debt. He added $10 trillion to the national debt. Under President Trump, we've had a much slower growth of the debt. And the biggest thing that's been increasing the debt at this moment at $23 trillion, where when Obama came out, we were at 21.6. We're at 23.2, I believe, at this moment. And I may be slightly off on that. I apologize if I am. Why is that growth slowed down? It's because while we're still spending, we're spending at a slower rate. The biggest thing that's actually affecting the debt right now was the increase of the interest rates. And actually, that's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to.
Wait a minute,
Yes.
you're saying the Federal Reserve had something to do with the debt?
I'm telling you that the Federal Reserve, under Republicans, increases tax rates, the exchange rate, more under Republicans, and it increases more under Republicans than it does under Democrats. Democrats benefit from lower interest rates, which slows down the accumulation of the debt. So are Republicans actually being better with the economy than Democrats are? Yes. Is it good? No.
Yeah,
Could it be way better? Absolutely.
look,
and I want a smaller government.
I know you jumped around on that one because you want to protect your boys. I got it. But I got to tell you, he's 100% right. Democrats, Republicans both explode the debt.
I didn't say they didn't. I said
good,
who's
right,
doing
yes.
it faster than the other. And I agree. We need to cut that. We need to cut government spending. Absolutely agree with that. And when someone's in power, what's the biggest thing that they spend money on? Pork barrel spending.
Of course.
Because they want to get reelected.
Or they want their wall if they're Trump, or they want Obamacare if they're
No,
Obama.
I like the war. I like the wall. I don't like Obamacare.
But
for
it doesn't
a lot
matter.
of other
It's
reasons.
still tons of debt.
Well, not exactly.
See, he's
but-
exactly right. It's your wall, so you're okay with it, right? But if
No,
if you're a
because there's-
Democrat,
no.
Democrat says it's health care.
No,
It's totally
because
fine.
because there's long-term repercussions. What we're talking about with Obamacare is actually removing people's freedom of choice, and we're giving
And
the
a wall
government-
isn't.
Well, the wall doesn't create the opportunity for the government to say, "We tell you you must do something." If the government can tell you you must do one thing, it can tell you must do everything. There is a big difference
I think
there.
there's some dodge in there. Are you with me or no? You still there?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I mean, I totally agree. It's just I would, in theory, I would like to be a Republican, but they're not conservative. They
That's-
say they're conservative, but they're not conservative. They just want to spend the tax dollar on something else, just like you said, the military,
Yep.
foreign wars, endless wars, the wall that wouldn't do anything.
It does a lot.
I mean, a big wall will just get a bigger ladder.
I like that. Pete, getting some.
Well, I can understand part of your complaint there. And like I said, we do need to slow down and stop. We need to shrink the size of government. I agree. And I think pork barrel spending is a big problem with
100%.
that. And I think the answer to that for both parties, for any party, is let's put in term limits.
I agree.
Limit everyone to, I believe, 3 terms for Congress, 2 terms for the Senate, and you can't run again.
No, I agree. There's no doubt that there's far more corruption in the Congress than there is at the executive branch.
Absolutely.
No doubt, 100%.
And I think that's the biggest problem with that. And if you were to remove that, we would be able to have more influence in cutting the spending of the government, because they're spending like drunk sailors. Actually, drunk sailors are more conservative.
Yeah, because they actually run out of money. They don't have to
exactly.
run out of money.
You know,
exactly. Yes,
so
it's
it's something that you're right, Pete. They spend way too much. I agree with you completely. As a Republican, a conservative Republican, I have great issue with it as well. Working on it.
There we go.
Working on it.
Pete, was that okay?
Well, why is Trump signing these huge spending bills? Some of these are record spending bills, and he's signing them and saying it's the greatest thing ever.
There's always spending bills that are great ideas, and they're always records, and every president's done that for the last 50 years. Since we started going into debt. So
this is the piece I agree. I don't. This isn't a Republican problem.
No,
this is a presidential power problem. This is a congressional problem. I just don't think.
My thing is.
Go ahead.
My thing is the Democrats will at least be honest, and they'll tell you they're going to tax the hell out of you.
That's a valid point.
Spend your money.
No, they're not honest about that.
They say they're conservative, and they're really not.
No. Bernie's right up. Bernie's like, I don't want billionaires to exist. Bernie's like, I want to tax 90%. Bernie's 100%. He's right up front there. He's 100% up there. Bernie's not playing the games. Bernie literally said, I don't want any billionaires. He's happy to tax you till you're not rich. He's all about that.
As he remains rich.
Yes, and he literally said middle class people are gonna pay more taxes.
He has said
totally
that,
up on
and
that.
he's reworded it many times. And you know what? I don't really take a whole lot from Bernie very honestly or seriously when he's a millionaire who has donated. I've donated more to the IRS than Bernie has in his entire life.
There we go.
So I don't take him too much.
Pete, thank you for that call. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Awesome. You know what? Let's go over to Long Island. This is an issue that I think both of us will probably agree upon on this one. I'm not sure, but I think we might on this one. We're going to talk about vaping.
Yeah, I'm wondering what he means by what he's saying there.
We'll find out. Let us know. Matthew, you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. Talk to me about Vapors Vote.
So, I just finished watching President Trump's speech in Kentucky.
Okay.
Along with about probably close to 5,000 of my good friends and colleagues in the vapor industry. And we completely flooded and owned the comment section of the live feed with points like, we vape, we vote.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I'm noticing a lot of politicians are not paying attention to is the fact that there are 13 million vapors estimated, I've seen reports of higher, in the United States of America, and many of them are single-issue voters.
It's a very valid point.
And I have yet to see a politician, besides yourself really, who have actually taken that into consideration. I mean, we're looking at a presidency right now that's based off of the Republican beliefs of, less regulation, pro-small business,
in theory,
freedom, so forth and so forth. Yet we have the president right now talking about doing a flavor ban, but only allowing menthol and tobacco.
Yes.
New York's been very proactive about that, so has Michigan. I do know there's about 10.6 million that was estimated. It could be as high as 13 now. Last data I saw was 10.6 million. And I know vaping's been around since 2003. It's been almost 18 years that it's been existing. The problem isn't vaping. I know there's the big scare, and it goes back to scare tactics.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh my God, there's so many people who are dying. Wait a minute, that's the lowest category of people dying in the nation from any cause of any category.
Right.
And it's because of added on products, mostly THC and cyanide, being added in that's caused these deaths, and almost always older individuals who already have pre-existing health conditions. So I do feel for the vapors out there. I do know the data on it. I have looked at the CDC records so far. What I'm concerned about is the issue isn't so much vaping.
Okay, tell me what the issue is.
Freedom. Choice. Information.
That's what I've been saying.
It goes back to the same things we've been talking about.
I don't even vape.
Yeah, I want them to, you know what? Vape if you want to vape. I don't care.
Absolutely, yes.
I absolutely don't care.
But how in the world, and this is
get rid of the fear.
But this goes back to the same thing, right? I find exactly what Matthew's talking about. The idea that in theory, the Democrat Party is supposed to be about the little guy. They're supposed to be.
That's what they say.
And they're clearly not. But they're
No.
supposed to be. That's the rhetoric they give us.
Yes.
And they're not. But the Republicans give rhetoric too about freedom and about choice and about small business.
With limits.
A whole lot of limits. I mean, if you, and this is if I don't believe that vaping is anywhere near as dangerous as they say it is, but let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I'm wrong and it is. Let's say I'm wrong and it's dangerous. So then why don't you then just regulate like cigarettes? Or regulate like alcohol, or whatever is the thing you're going to do because you think it's so evil or bad. No, they're banning flavors.
And this is where I think they've gone too far.
They're banning things, right?
I understand.
And they're saying if it's tobacco, it's fine because you know what works well? Cigarettes. I mean, the insanity of that drives me crazy. But not just that, they're doing it without even asking the industry. They're just basically destroying an industry. They're destroying an industry. And when Democrats will say they care about the little guy, and if you know the vaping industry, it's all about the little guy.
Well, wait a minute.
And Republicans say small business, and it's all about
small business. Where's been the focus on this? Where have we seen the real bans coming from? New York State, Governor Cuomo, single party government. We're seeing it in Michigan and California.
Trump's talking about it.
He's kind of talking about it. Where is it actually happening? Where is it actually happening? And that's in the Democratic stronghold.
No, but when Trump talks about it, the second he brings it up, now that gives credibility to it to a lot of people who are thinking, wait a minute, should we care about this or not?
No, credibility came when the governor of New York stepped on all of the people of New York and said unilaterally. Yes, he did.
I mean, not outside the state. I'm sorry, not outside the state. In New York State, yes, but not outside of New York State.
New York State is looked at as a leadership. We're the testing ground for most of the liberal policies out there.
You are right.
And they're using us as, oh, look, New York did it, so we should do it too. Almost every single liberal issue out there. It's either California or New York. We battle with California to say, we're the most liberal. Let's go more progressive.
Yes.
We did it first. And they follow our lead on almost every single issue. So when President Trump is reacting, he's a president, he has to keep his approval ratings up to be effective. He still needs to be able to reach out to the public on both sides, and he needs something that's going to keep him going.
Trump doesn't reach on both sides.
He doesn't, but he needs to try, and he does try every so often.
The second
He's not successful.
term of Obama is when that actually died, right? Prior to the second term of Obama.
First term.
No. First term, he was still talking. He was still talking. He's going to be uniter. He was still talking that stuff first term.
No,
yes, he was.
And at the same time, he was also saying things like,
that's correct, but he stopped talking second term is my point. That's when it officially died. First term, he was still talking, I'm going to bring them together. I'm going to unite. He was still talking that trash first term.
Okay,
second term, he
dropped
totally.
the second half of his story.
That's correct.
Yes.
He just dropped it second term, and then Trump never even picked it up. Obama ended it, and Trump didn't even bother picking it up.
I'll give you that.
Yep. They left it.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Prior to the second term of Obama, every president at least talked about across the aisle. Whether they did or not, they all talked about it. All of them did.
Sure.
Bush, Obama, I'm sorry, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, they all talked about it.
Keep going back, yeah.
They all did.
Yeah.
Second term Obama, he's like, nope, I'm Democrat. How would you Republicans? And then Trump was like, how would you Democrats? I'm Republican. He just kept it.
Yeah, and that's the new trend going forward.
100%.
I agree with you. We have a big issue, and it comes back to, you know what this really comes back to, quite honestly? It's not about Trump. It's not about Governor Cuomo. It's not about California, Michigan. It's not. It comes back to none of them have the power. We have the power. 10th Amendment. 10th Amendment. The only time they have power is when we give it to them and when we don't vote, which is, again, my big issue, especially tomorrow being election day.
Yes, it
and
is.
New York State's going to come and we're going to be about 39, 40%.
If we're lucky.
We're going to be about 49th, 48th in the nation in voting. And people are going to say, well, gee, we can't do anything. You didn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
This is the bigger problem because they can say anything they want. If we don't give them the power by not voting, then it doesn't matter.
So let me ask you then. Let me ask you.
Me. Okay.
You. This
Okay.
is you, not Trump.
Well, we had someone on the call.
Yeah,
So.
let's make sure.
Okay.
Do you think we should be, you said with limits, do you think we should be banning vaping, banning flavors? Do you think it's the right answer?
No, I think they were way ahead of the curve on that. It was unnecessary. It wasn't big enough of an issue to justify that kind of wholesale destruction of freedom and liberty.
I completely agree. And a question I always ask is very simply, please, can you tell me which stores in New York State sold those products that killed those kids?
None of them.
None. Exactly.
It was added on.
We are literally punishing the people who did the right thing and rewarding the black market, which were the killers.
Yes.
The black market is what killed those kids.
Yep.
We are now rewarding the black market and punishing store owners who did the right thing.
And they weren't kids. There's the other part of the
Oh,
thing.
yes, right. Some weren't kids.
They
Some
weren't
yes,
kids.
yeah.
There was 2 kids.
Yeah, some were, not all.
And
Yes.
almost everyone else was 30 or older.
Right.
And most of them were 50 or older, according to the CDC. So, again, the media is molding an image that we're all accepting because most people haven't followed it. And I, quite honestly, until I started following it, I didn't even know that. It's not accurate. It's not a crisis. It's not an
Absolutely.
epidemic. It's all third-party add-ons, which include cyanide, which include THC, and there's your real problem. The
Black
ban
market's
is
the
not a problem.
Yeah,
The
black
ban
market.
is not an answer. It's
Absolutely.
the worst answer possible.
Matthew, did we answer your question at least? I think we lost Matthew.
Might have lost them.
That's okay.
Okay.
I hope he understood that. Without question, he's correct. There are a lot of voters, and if Trump screws up, he's going to lose that chunk of voters, whatever that is. And that chunk might be enough because a lot of the people who I've met in the actual vaping industry, they join the industry or enter the industry because of a passion of fixing themselves in some way. And many of them, Matthew's right, many of them are single issue voters, right? They care that in their view, vaping saved their life.
But they have to go out. And I say this for any single issue or multiple issues. You have to go out and vote.
Yep.
If you're not voting, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I
but
have an old saying.
They're voting.
I have an old saying. You know why people think that they've been sold this idea that their vote doesn't count, and the people who are selling it are the people who are voting, and it's really great. It's a real simple system. If you have 10 voters, 7 out of 10 aren't voting, you don't matter. You don't have a voice because you didn't vote, so you're gone. So there's 3 people who actually matter. One is donating $5,000, $10,000 through whatever the PACs and so forth. You got another one who's donating $200, and you got someone who's not donating anything. What order do you think that the politician's going to pay attention
There we go.
to?
Absolutely.
You know what? If you had 7 out of 10 people voting, entirely different
I agree.
scenario. So you got to get out and vote. And tomorrow is election
It is
day.
election day,
Get out
guys.
and voting.
All right, let me. I'll stay on the phones if I can. I'm going to go to the Bronx, right where you
Oh,
and I
yeah.
are from.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And actually, this is closer to me than you.
Oh, yes, it is.
Co-op.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm down south. We're gonna head over to Dion in the Bronx. Dion, how are you?
Great.
What's going on, my friend?
I'm okay. Who is this? I'm sorry.
This is Larry. You are on there with Larry and Mike.
Hi, Larry. This is Dion from the Bronx. It's good to see good, positive brothers like yourself.
Thank you.
I'm over here. I help you guys start the Bronx LP. I'm a Democrat on paper, and I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
They gave me one word to use for you guys, and I said co-ops. Why did I say that? I said that because I keep trying to tell you guys down here in the city that you got to use the same strategy with the Democrats that the socialists, the progressives do, and the Workers' Family Party do here in New York, which is you have to leech off them and make sure your agenda is merged with their agenda, and that way you build your base of support that way. I think that's the only way to hurt these guys and actually change the narrative and pull it more.
Give me an example of what you're talking about, Dion. Give me an example.
All right, the Workers' Family Party, for example, they latched on to the Democratic Party to get control, right, and then influence all progressives that way. But seeing as though they wanted to keep their party line, they had to realign themselves with Cuomo at the end. Cynthia Nixon, that whole situation.
I remember that.
With you. So I think to make the Libertarian Party a force, like the Conservative Party is a force for Republicans, you guys should use the similar strategy,
Well, I'm not sure
I'm not sure the Conservative Party in New York State is actually very powerful right now. They didn't put up a candidate for the governor. They didn't even force a primary with a conservative candidate. They had a conservative candidate. For those of you who don't know, DeFrancisco was a conservative candidate, and the Republicans kind of pushed him out. Didn't even give him a chance to go through the primary. I'm not sure the Conservative Party actually is very powerful in New York State. And the second thing is, if Working Families Party is going to go away if Cuomo has his way and he gets rid of Fusion. If Fusion goes away and they then raise the number to be a real party to be $250,000,
$250,000.
There's only going to be 250,000 votes. I'm sorry. There's only going to be 3 or 4 parties in the state. It's going to be Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and maybe the Greens. Every other party's gone. There's no way that Working Families is going to actually run a gubernatorial candidate, raise money for that person, and get them to get 250,000 votes.
Well, let me mention for a moment that the Conservative Party is actually in a big transition.
Yes.
As you know, Mike Long, who was a long-term head of the Conservative Party, who I've met, nice guy, he stepped out. They're under a transition into a new leadership. So who
because
knows?
of me, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow. I like Mike. And I've spoken to Mike. He's a Marine too. Mm-hmm. And we've had great conversations. I've had great conversations with him as well. So I want to give them a little leeway on that. But also, I don't see, and I can tell you, Upstate, we're not seeing the Working Families Party, which is quite honestly citizen action, which in my area, and so in the Southern Tier, they've been completely co-opted by Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow and Tifa and Black Lives Matter. And right now, we're watching, as a matter of fact, what's just happening right now. I've got a candidate who's running for city council, Mr. Dan Livingston, who is under ethics investigation, that he voted for himself to be investigated. There is a videotape of him actually saying he, in fact, violated ethics, possibly also misuse of public funds. And he says that on tape, his own tape, and he's the Progressive Working Families candidate, and the Democrats don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not working together. It's co-opting. And that's the problem with what you're mentioning there, is that we're seeing very often when you try and use that dovetailing effect, one or the other party almost always winds up being co-opted into the other. Yeah. So it's a very limited process, and if it's going to happen, it has to be short term. I think you and I, Larry, were talking about it, and when we were talking about the New York 22nd race, I think I said it very directly to you, and I'm more than happy to say it publicly, that, you know what, the Libertarian Party needs to have a New York 22nd candidate for themselves and push them out there. Mind you, I'm a Republican. I already have a choice of candidate who I strongly support, and I believe in it, but I want to see it'll be better for everyone to have a libertarian who's a libertarian out there.
Here is the problem that we often find, and this is what I found when I was running. And it's a problem that I still find to this day, but not as much. I tried very hard to reach out to both the left and the right. I did. In New York State, because New York State's a blue state, the left ignored me. Literally ignored me, would not talk to me. Still to this day, many people on the left don't, but I get many more now that I'm not running. If you've noticed, I've had Democrats on my show last week. I've had the Green Party guy on my show. I have Democrats on my show now, but when I was running, most people on the left, Working Families, Democrats, literally would not talk to me. My team tried to put events with them together, talk to them, and it made my campaign look further right than it actually was. Because the right did talk to me. Why? Because the right in New York State is being oppressed. So the libertarians become the we'll leave you alone party. And they're totally okay with that. But again, the same thing happens in the opposite in Oklahoma. Right in Oklahoma, the left is going to feel oppressed. They're going to be like, can we help out libertarians? Yes. And libertarians will be like, we'll leave you alone, party. So I think it becomes difficult for us libertarians to sometimes reach the left because of that. And then the right, you will find one of two things. The right will be happy when we're beating up the left. But the second we start beating up the right, they turn on us too. So yes,
Right.
So that
Can't
happens.
say that's wrong.
Yes, so that happens too. So
Yeah.
I think your concept might be okay, but it in practice, I struggled with it. It didn't go as well as I'd hoped in either way, as I reached out to both the left and the right.
But Larry, let me add something else.
Please.
One other word, which is slate.
Okay.
For example, you're so far ahead of the ticket. One of the things I've always said too is that you got to have people running those other roles,
Yes.
state senate, assembly.
Yep.
That way you have an army behind you.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
For example, I said the same thing to Sam New York Party, if you ever heard of Sam.
Of course.
I said, listen, if you guys get a lot of other people on this pyramid running for office together, then you don't have to worry about losing your party line throughout the years.
No,
That's
I
when
agree
I
with
mentioned
you.
The Conservative Party.
Yep.
That's why I mentioned the Conservative Party. They don't have to worry about running a gubernatorial candidate because even if Cuomo doesn't pass that law, that line will always be there consistently for that whole methodology. You see what I'm saying? And on a small scale.
Well, there are two things to think about. Number one is I get you. I agree with you. And if you notice, this year we're actually doing that. In Utica, we have a 5-person slate, right?
Yes,
in Cattaraugus County, we have 14 people running. So we did do that, but the issue is I couldn't do it while I was running. I don't know if you were on the phone earlier. We just didn't have the talent. I didn't have the bodies. I didn't have the infrastructure. It was literally impossible in 2018. But in 2018, so many people who were on my campaign who saw me run, a lot of them are now running.
True.
So I created a farm team in 2018 that now you see them running in 2019, and I think we'll have more slates in 2020. I'm agreeing with you 100%, Dion. We didn't have the bodies to do it. We didn't have the infrastructure, the donor base, but I think we have more of it now.
Oh, sorry. You just reminded me of something. Sorry, Dion, but something I wanted to jump back to because I just remembered the name. You want to talk about a presidential candidate that's possible, libertarian? Mm-hmm. Lily Tang Williams.
Oh, out of Colorado.
She was in Colorado. She's in New Hampshire right now.
Oh, is that right? New Hampshire. Well, she went there too.
She
there
moved.
we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Lily, I've done interviews with her.
Wonderful story.
Phenomenal.
The problem, though, is she's not born in America.
Oh, that's right. She's
born in China.
naturalized. That's right. I forgot.
She's born in China.
Yeah.
So, yes, she
well, it's
couldn't.
part of her story, but
Yes.
she would be so wonderful.
I agree. Yes.
But
All right, Dion, was that
sorry.
okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Awesome. All right, so I got someone from Georgia. We are going all
curious.
over the place. I love it. We're going to Georgia. When someone's talking about libertarian Republican compromise, if that's going to be
Not
good or
sure
bad.
what that means. Yeah.
I'm not sure either, but we'll see. We're trying to grab Joel. Joel, are you there?
How's it going, Larry?
What's
How's
going
it
on?
going?
I'm doing well.
Doing all right. Just saw that you were guys having a live call-in show, so I was totally interested and wanted to give my sort of theoretical, my sort of cockamamie type theory toward. I live in an area. I go to college in an area where it's considered a lost cause area for Georgia Republicans.
Okay.
And could there be a possibility that Republicans could step out of races that are, quote, dead zones for Republicans and then allow for libertarians to in their place, such that we have enough candidates on both Libertarian and Republican parties to make the Democrat Party essentially a third party?
Wow. Well, a couple of things. That may be possible locally, but you got to realize something. One, there are a lot of libertarians who are both left and those who are also right. I know that there's an image of Libertarian Party being, physically conservative and socially liberal, and I think the party as a whole, as an entity, tends to move in that direction. I think that aspect is kind of true, but the individuals within the party, are far left, far right, conservative, liberal, all over the place. The difference is, do they believe it's government's role to kind of push their agenda? And many of them,
they're more rational than the Democrats, though. They're more rational than Democrats, and going way far to the left.
You're saying that libertarians are more rational than Democrats?
Yes.
Possibly. I'm like with all the stuff that's going on in the 2020 the presidential race right now with all these radical candidates coming up with radical proposals. I mean, Stacey Abrams last year in Georgia for the governor's race in Georgia was very, very radical, and it was very close to call there.
Well, again, let me go back to my point. While that might work in your district, now if you went to another district in, say, upstate New York, the opposite would be true, right? Democrats might as well not run somebody and put a libertarian in there. And the reason why, first off, that is already happening in certain places by default. Tomorrow, there are going to be elected libertarians across New York State. That's going to happen. There won't be that many. There'll be a handful, but there will be some. And one of them I know for sure is going to win because no one else ran. So he's going to win because there's no one else on the ballot. And we have a couple of those. And we also have those where, to your point, where they've been running Republicans or Democrats forever. So the other side doesn't run anymore. They just stopped. So a couple of us are in two-person races because either the red or the blue team decided it doesn't make any sense. So that does happen already. But I think to create a plan to do that is probably unrealistic for several reasons. One, no party wants to give up ground on purpose. Would they give it up because they think they can't win it? Maybe, but they're not going to purposely give up the land unless it's a bargain with the Republican or Democrat directly. So we don't have much to give. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, let me address something that my phone's been blowing up for a little bit. Because I've been getting some people who have been mentioning, Mike, why in the world would you possibly say some of the things you've said so far tonight?
Okay.
In particular about, I want to see more libertarians out there. And I want to address that real quick because I think it also answers part of your question, Joel, on looking at this. The more people we have involved, I believe very strongly, libertarians reach a segment of the population no one's touching. People who are not voting out there.
Absolutely
like I said, in New York State,
yes,
we have the lowest voter turnout possible.
I literally had hundreds of people who registered to vote for the first time because of my campaign.
Right. Yep. And these are people who are not otherwise involved.
Correct.
I believe that having, and I said the New York 22, but I can also say in the city council races, I can say in statewide races, people who are not, and they are not involved in New York. They are not talking about politics. They are not involved with Republicans or Democrats. They may be in Republican. If they're involved, now they're having a discussion. They're having a conversation with all of the candidates that are there. Do I particularly think some of my candidates, not necessarily all of them, but some of my Republicans in some of these races are going to win because I believe they're the strongest candidate? Absolutely. Do I believe in the American system that the best candidate should be the one who wins? Absolutely. Do I think that that libertarians being involved can help emphasize the best candidate and therefore get people involved? Absolutely.
I agree completely.
So for all the Republicans who are yelling at me right now, and a couple of Democrats who are yelling at me right now, because from what I do political commentary, folks. So I get all sides, including the in-between.
Sure.
They're yelling at me right now. Yeah, I think this helps everyone. And at the end of the day, it helps voters. And so what you're saying, Joel, is I think we have to understand competition ultimately is always better. More people involved, more people competing means more ideas get out there, more people get involved in the process, and everyone wins.
And also in terms of the libertarian movement, judges are important as well. Maybe having more libertarian judges also help.
Yes, but the point that I think Mike's making, and the reason why I'm not sure that your idea is the one that I want to support, because I don't just want to replace one party, right? I would the advantage and why anyone who, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, you should want a strong libertarian party. And the reason is Republicans are supposed to be about lower taxes, small business, small government.
Yes.
With a when it's just us versus them, they don't have to be. They simply have to be better than the other. So they have to be. With a libertarian in the race, libertarian will also say exactly the same things. The Republican will have to be a better Republican or he or she will lose. Democrats are supposed to be about civil liberties. They're not. But libertarians are. When a libertarian in a race, Democrats have to either get better on that or put up better candidates, or they will lose. Well, you will find better Democrats and better Republicans if there is a strong libertarian party to be the referee to force them to not just be, well, I'm not as bad as him or not as bad as her, but I'm actually good at what you expect me to be.
But to my point, can there be good Democrats because party's going so far to the left to socialism?
Well, that's the point. They'd have to be better, wouldn't they?
I got to tell you, Joel, I'm totally selfish here in what I'm speaking about. First of all, no, I don't think any socialist is good. I've lived in socialism. I don't think any progressive is got a good hold on politics either, because I've lived through that. But I do believe, and it's selfish. Quite honestly, it's selfish. I think having a libertarian that has strength in the race shines a great big spotlight on some of my better candidates, and not every one of them is a great candidate, but I do think that we have several who are great candidates that I support, and it shines the light on them and takes away the distraction and says, this is why they're great. Mm-hmm. And now you don't have any of the other. And it's because they're competing with someone who says, hey, how good are you really? Absolutely. And I think that, but then again, that also means that there's a good, strong libertarian there. If there's a good, strong libertarian, you're right, Larry, it makes everyone better.
Yes.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm being very selfish here, but it's mutually beneficial.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's wrong for me to say, and I don't think it's wrong for me to look forward to.
I got it. I'm with you. We're on the same page here. Did that make sense at least to you? Yeah?
I think we may have lost him.
Did I lose you? I think I lost him.
Yeah.
No worries. All right.
But I think it makes sense to us.
There we go. And I hope the people watching and listening also would agree.
Yeah.
I want to grab another phone call if I could. I know we've been rushing the phones. You and I still have something to talk about still.
We haven't had anything to talk about.
I want to still talk about red flag laws.
I love talking to people, but yes, we must talk about that.
Red flag still. We still have to do that. So let me grab someone from New York again, back to New York again, which is my base still, as you know.
Texas, where are you? Southern Tier, where are you guys?
So Ryan from New York. How are you, Ryan?
Very good, Larry, but it's Brian.
It's Brian? I'm sorry, Brian. Sorry.
Brian. Brian as in like Brian Kaplan, not Ryan as in Ryan Reynolds or something like that. Anyways, Larry, one thing that I have a bit of a question for, and I'm going to get the point best I can, but one thing that people from like how your young little kids start reading comic books and watching TV to like the young adult on social media. And the one fact I want to bring is that you also fail to realize that if you put one political aspect into every outlet of media, every type of media, you could create a generation of that specific type of mindset. What concerns me is that with some of the political positioning of some of Hollywood top actors and directors, is it possible that at some point could the generation of mindless conformists who are going to believe in socialism and all that totalitarian something?
No, I think it's a valid worry that people who are, the heavy hitters in the media, the actors and directors and the people that many of the kids look up to, if they act in certain ways or say certain things or movies or a certain type of movie or TV show, I do think it can affect them and affect an entire generation. But at the same time, while I think that is happening, at the same time, I think you're also finding a fractured media, right? It's tougher now to find a movie star, right, than it was, say, 40 years ago.
Or to the degree that they were movie stars.
Correct.
Than now. Yes.
Absolutely. And you also find people who are movie stars now who also do Netflix and CBS and Amazon Prime. And there was a time when we were kids where you were a TV actor that was second tier.
Yes.
And movie star was primary tier.
Sure, yeah.
Now it's very much mixed, but not just that. You find people who only watch certain types of media. So it's not as broad, if that makes any sense. And I think what you actually find is you find personalities actually being what runs our media more. Someone like a Kim Kardashian, as an example, right? Who isn't really a movie star, who really isn't a politician.
She's
but
not
it's just
a talent.
Yes, her talent is being in the media. That's her talent. Her talent is staying relevant for 20 years when all her peer group has fallen to the wayside.
True.
That's her talent, right? So I think people like that are actually becoming more valuable than that. And sometimes, to a certain extent, also, I think you're finding politicians, right? Like the Beto O'Rourke's, who don't win anything, but people still follow them,
He
right?
lost to the guy that lost to Trump.
Yes.
And that's supposed to make you a presidential contender?
Yes.
Really?
But no,
Really?
he's not. He's doing it because he's a personality,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
the point. He's becoming the Kim Kardashian of his area,
Very much so.
right?
Yes.
So he doesn't win anything. He just keeps talking. But go, oh, yeah, Beto, we like that guy, and he becomes that guy. So I do think there's a concern about that. Absolutely. At the same time, there is a fractured media, so people are picking and choosing their media too. My worry is there's too much media, and people just either don't have the time or their energy, and they just begin to say, it's too much. You know what? I like that guy, Michael Vass. I'm just going to, what should I think, Mike? And my worry is that's what begins to happen. What should I think, Mike? You're doing the homework. Tell me what I think.
And I disagree because it's not that there's too much media. Because there's always been too much media. If you want to look at it from that point of way, that's an excuse out of the way. The question is there credible media? And do you actually know what the difference is? And
that's hard.
I've said it a couple times now.
It's very
voters,
hard.
Well, yes and no. If you have been following this, it's like investing.
Sure.
Investing seems like it's a huge, terrible weight. It's so difficult. Except if you read the Wall Street Journal for 30 days in a row, guess what? You're going to have a lot better understanding of what they're talking about, and you're going to be able to make great investments. More so than if you hadn't, and you're well on your way. Most people are avoiding the politics. They're avoiding the issues.
Absolutely.
They're avoiding understanding what the consequences are. And so they are then saying, oh my God, there's just too much media because, yeah, there's several outlets. I have one. No sound bites allowed.
But hold on. I don't just mean media. I guess I should have been clearer on that. When I was saying media, I didn't just mean news media. I meant media, period. In other words, Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Streaming and all
streaming.
that.
So I wasn't clear. I apologize. I think that's what he was talking about also. He was talking about all the media, right? Watching TV, going to the movies, everything. And I think that's what I meant when I said media.
Okay.
I didn't mean just news media. This literally, you could, if you wanted to, please don't, but you could just sit there for 4 days straight and watch Netflix. You could. That's available to you, right?
Yeah.
You could then stop and watch 4 days of Hulu if you wanted to and never go to work and get kicked out of your house.
Wait a minute.
You could do that.
But wait a minute.
And that really didn't exist when you and I were kids.
No, not in that format, but you could watch NBC.
Not when we were kids.
We had the 5 channels.
Yes.
We had the 5 channels when we were kids. We're roughly the same age.
Yes.
So you had your 5 channels. You could watch that up until the stations turned off.
The stations that turned off. That wasn't 24/7.
Which was about 2:30 in the morning.
That's exactly right. Yes, after the late show.
Yeah,
exactly
or
right.
the late movie.
Oh right, yes, sorry, late movie. Sorry, yes.
And then you get the Star Spangled Banner, and it goes to snow at about 2:33 in the morning, and you're down for about 3 hours.
Yep.
Well, that's passed a little bit, but you still had the option that if you wanted to avoid it, you could. The big difference is that people actually were involved. I mean, I cannot get away from this. When I have so many conversations with people day in and day out, I mean, a lot of people come to me because, when people come to me in just real life down the street, and they've seen me and they know, if you ask me a question and say, Mike, I just want to know about this. Okay, I follow almost every issue for the last 20 years. I'll give you both sides. If you ask me my opinion, I'm going to give you the conservative Republican side.
Sure.
Absolutely, because that's my opinion. But if you don't know, here's the subject, here's the story, and you can go wherever you want with that. Most people won't ask that question.
No, I agree.
And there's the ultimate problem. It's not the media, because you always have another movie you can go see. There's always a video game you could play. There's always a Netflix that's on, or a DVD you can go to.
But let me go to what I think he may be meaning also is, right, if you look at the type of media you can watch now, most of the media, and I don't mean news media, I mean TV, video games, that kind of stuff, right? Now, give me an example of this. There is a World War II video game. I forgot which one. It might be
Call of Duty?
It might be that one. I'm not sure, but there's a recent one.
That's the most popular one.
Yeah, so it might be that one. But and one of my friends was talking to me about this. He's like, you know what? You can be a male or a female throughout and pick your characters any way you like.
Modern Warfare. Yeah, that's.
But it wasn't modern. It's World War II based.
Yeah, it's Call of Duty.
Right. So it's World War, and you can be a male or a female.
Right.
When in reality, the odds of you being a Japanese female soldier and fighting the front line was about 1 bazillion to 1.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah, Larry. One thing about recently with Call of Duty that I heard of people introducing black characters as well, but in realistically back then, the only time one could be a black soldier was like it was definitely away from the usual white groups back then, and what we have recently discovered about SS people that were not deemed alien, they were African or Asian or whatever. And I think I'm seeing the same thing with that.
Yeah, I think they also would pick races. Yes, I think that also was a thing, right? And they're trying to. I'm not against the idea of inclusion at all. I mean, the reverse was true. If you looked at movies that were made in the 40s and 50s, it's like there were no black soldiers.
They didn't exist.
Like they didn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
And I think now you see some movies now which are showing, the red tails, right?
Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Big example.
You're showing that now, which I love that idea. But I don't think you want to create a false narrative, right? You want to create what actually happened.
Well, they've completely skipped that to go to what's the whole idea in Hollywood right now, which again goes back to gender identity politics, because this is all connected. And Hollywood is very much about promoting this ideology, which is a very subversive, submissive, subliminal way of pushing this out here. Oh, you can be this female in World War II fighting on the front lines. Really didn't happen. Yes, there were in France. There were some in Italy.
Yeah,
given.
There were a couple, yes.
But
there were
talking,
some Russian female snipers.
Absolutely.
Sure, some existed.
But
absolutely.
We're talking about, out of the entire thing, if we had to put a percentage to it, you're talking about, what, 0.5% out of everybody who fought?
Right.
And that's being generous?
Yeah.
So let's really look at the historics. Look at Disney's version of Midway with Ben Affleck, which they completely got wrong.
You mean Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Right,
Pearl
yes.
Harbor.
Midway's coming out next week. Yeah.
Where
Pearl Harbor,
hopefully they get it right this time, but probably won't. Because they're changing the history, because they want to be able to market this. We're seeing that revisionist idea, and we're seeing that now movies cannot be made unless it has a woman, someone who's black, someone who's Asian. One of those three has to be the lead, and preferably a woman who is black or Asian. And
I'm not sure that's true at all.
Oh, they do that all the time.
No, I mean look,
Terminator. Terminator, Dark Fate.
If
Star Wars.
Yes, Star Wars, true.
Well,
yep,
we can go down a whole list of these movies. And this is to reinvent an ideology which then supports the gender identity politics that's being reverberated by politicians afterwards.
So is Brian right then? What he's saying is the media is then changing how the youth look at the world.
Very much so.
Is Brian right?
Yes, because there was a study that just came out. The fact is, a study that just came out, it's not that there's been a cultural change in beliefs. The older generations, even older than us, are dying off. Mm-hmm. And so that conservatism, that view of America is dying out. And they're being replaced by the younger generations who have been force-fed nothing but gender identity, social justice reform ideology, and that's all they know, with this revisionist history going behind it. And so that's why you're seeing such a huge impetus towards socialism as if it's some kind of great savior, because they haven't been alive long enough to notice it's always failed. Historically, it has never worked anywhere, ever. And that they only think that, well, this must be the right answer. So, yeah, we've been seeing this is the long game. And I have to give Democrats this. The progressives, the Democratic Socialists, they have been playing the long game.
But don't they always win? Don't progressives always win?
I don't know that they win.
Don't the conservatives eventually die off, right? Isn't that what happens?
But then the new generation comes.
Conservatives die off eventually, and then the new progressive... Are we, and this is always my worry, right? Mm-hmm. Are we becoming the back in my day, are we becoming those guys? Me and you.
No,
are
we already are.
Here? Yeah, exactly.
We already are.
We're that guy, right? So 20 years from now, we're going to sit in our lawns and yell at the kids on our lawns.
I'm doing that now.
Exactly.
Do you know how many times I'm at an event where they're telling me, "Oh my God, Mike, I can't believe it. You have to be PC." I'm like, "No, I don't."
Well,
why do I have
that's
to be?
My point.
No, I don't.
Then this is an ongoing thing where we always lose, right? Doesn't the older generation always lose to the younger generation?
No, because that is a recent development that we lose. It's not to say that we can't make change, because we went from the 70s, where we know the 70s. There was more racism in the 70s than 2019 has any idea exists.
100% true.
Okay, we've improved that.
That's true.
That wasn't because we became more socialist. That's just because we became more aware of the issues and we paid attention to how to fix that.
But doesn't, and this is I think a good thing on what Brian's saying, right? Isn't a part of our acceptance of the people around us, isn't part of that watching TV? I hate to say it, but I have to use it. Wasn't the Cosby Show? Wasn't that part of it? I hate to use Bill Cosby, but wasn't the part of it having the Huxtables on TV, having Will and Grace on TV, right? Wasn't that a part of what made us go, you know what, it's fine?
If you're brain dead, yes. If you're a brain dead couch potato, then the answer is yes.
You're telling me that seeing X people on TV that weren't on TV 20 years earlier, right? Try to find what wasn't Good Times important for white people to see black families? Wasn't Chico and the Man? We're talking 70s for you people who are too old, too young to know
this. For you to go to All in the Family.
This is 70s, right? Yes. Wasn't Chico and the Man important to see Puerto Ricans? Weren't these types of shows important?
Let's look at the context of what we're talking about. All in the Family, Chico and the Man, Good Times. You're talking the 1970s, right after the civil rights movement.
10 years after.
Roughly, yes. And you're seeing a sea change in the nation and an awareness that's coming out. Yes. Okay. Name something 20, 30 years, 40 years after that where we've already had that sea change. Are they still making the same impact? No. Because
Will and Grace did for gay couples.
Not really. No. We've already had gay couples out there. We've already had Dog Day Afternoon. We've already had this conversation. We had Soap that was talking about it on national TV.
That was.
We've already had this. And you know what's really much more powerful? Having real people you talk to.
No, I agree completely. Always.
And I think that's been
Always.
more. What you want and what All in the Family, Good Times, Chico and the Man, you know what it did? It gave us an opportunity to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And that's all they're good for is this gives us the opportunity to say, hey, did you see that? What did you think? Why? And let's have the conversation. And now you can have that conversation with me without feeling terrible about it.
I'm not
you can
sure
talk about
true.
roots. You can talk about roots, and we can have that conversation. And you're not going to feel completely like out of the blue on it. And then you move forward. And now the society moves forward because you've had the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then you go past it. What you see with Will and Grace, what you're seeing with current TV, isn't moving forward, it's moving backwards.
Well, I think the issue we found with the backwards is now you have the opposite where now you can't say anything.
Exactly.
Right?
That's moving backwards.
So, Brian, did we answer your question?
Yeah, because I'm just mentioning that 20 years ago when Nickelodeon came out, people were kind of concerned about like the Sailor humor. But when you get to Jimmy Neutron, that's when I was around. People were starting to become a little bit more accepting, but now fast forward to recently, Lyle Hamilton, and Ron Day, so our parents, even a little bit more accepting of somebody human and a few other things.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the call.
All right. Thanks, sir.
All righty.
We're going to get into red flags, but okay. I don't mind. We can go over. I don't mind.
It's okay.
I can go over time. I don't mind.
Let me, we got a lot of people grabbing. Let me go to Staten Island if I can. We're going to stay in New York City if we can.
We got Delaware too.
Well, we do have Delaware too. So let me do Joe in Staten Island. Joe, were you there?
Hey, Larry, how you doing?
What's going on, my friend?
Nothing much. I was just calling. Just wanted to figure out how to close the gap between upstate and downstate voters.
You know, so? This is the two things I want to bring up here. Number one, upstate and downstate voters, I want to make sure we get rid of this myth. And Mike, I know you're going to agree with me 100% on this one. There is a myth that's going around upstate, which we have to end. And the myth is that there's no way upstate can make any movement whatsoever because New York City will always outvote upstate New York. Here's the reality about New York City for you upstate people. New York City is 8.5 million people. That's true. 1/3 aren't born in the country. Another third aren't born in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Most can't vote. We only get maximum 2 million votes in New York City. Usually about 1.5.
Yeah, about 1.5. Yeah,
1.5 is the
I was
norm.
about to say that.
Max is 2, but we usually don't get that high. We get about 1.5 is the norm. That's what we get in New York City. There's over 10 million possible voters here in New York State. If, to your point, Michael, if upstate votes, they can outvote New York City.
9 out of 10 times.
So it could happen. The problem is, as you know, in certain parts of upstate, only 1 in 6 vote.
Yes.
That's how bad it is in certain parts. It's not the norm, but that's how bad it is in certain parts. Only 1 in 6 vote.
Yeah.
So number one thing is we have to start voting, and upstate can close that gap electorally. But now, economically, I'm not sure you actually want to close the gap because the economies are different.
You can't.
Yes, you actually just want to make sure everyone does well within their economy.
Well, that's part of the problem that we have when we have Governor Cuomo instituting the minimum wage, which I absolutely disagree with, which has failed everywhere it's been instituted, factually, studied already. And we're seeing it right now in Manhattan. $15 an hour for the minimum wage for a lot of the fast food workers. And what's been the result? You've seen the businesses close, people cut their hours. And automation.
Yep.
So
and interns too in New York City. You have to pay interns now.
Oh, great.
So now college kids can't get jobs.
Now that's even worse. And you're starting to see that impact, though, on upstate as well, because even though they have a lower minimum wage, which is stupid, we have minimum wage depending on where you are. That doesn't help with people transitioning. Actually, you're forcing a transition of people from one area to another, which hurts upstate. But you're also hurting upstate businesses who don't have the linchpin of Wall Street and the mega corporation or the mega capital of corporations that Manhattan is for New York City. And you're punishing them for being small business owners. I mean, the majority of small businesses aren't in Manhattan. They're in upstate New York. You got farmers, you've got every type of small business you can possibly think of, and they can't afford this. And especially when we see
the franchise to win, and the franchise now, while it is a small business owner, it's corporatism with this guy who gets his cut.
Yeah, and thus we get Putnam County where 38,000 people leave.
Absolutely.
And take their small business out of the state because you're pushing them out. It's too expensive. It's too much regulation. That's a redundancy of regulation. And there's no understanding that this isn't Manhattan.
Yes.
It's not one of the 5 boroughs.
What I think you do to fix this is to go to what I said earlier. Localization, localization, localization. Keep more money locally to build local businesses, to build local economies. You know, in certain areas of upstate New York, if you make $50,000 a year, you're doing well.
You're doing very well.
And in certain areas of Manhattan, $50,000 a year, you can't even afford to live by yourself.
A good part of Manhattan.
Yes, you can't live by yourself. So I don't necessarily want to close the gap. I want to make sure that wherever you choose to live, wherever you find your happiness, whether that's on a farm, in a city, rural, suburban, small town, big town, small city, wherever you find your happiness, that you can live according to that economy.
And as a Republican, I would only say to that, I just want to get rid of the government's heavy hand. I don't believe a single party government with an agenda up front that doesn't care what anyone thinks because they know they have a majority because no one is voting, that they're going to really appreciate the fact that they are hurting the very people that they're saying, we're going to take care of you because we're going to put you all in poverty, make you dependent on the government so you have no choice but to keep on reelecting us. I think that's not just wrong, that's evil. It borders on evil. We got to get rid of that.
Yep.
I want people to be independent, free, equal opportunity to fail and or succeed and get the government out of the way. and things like mandatory minimum wage,
Oh,
living
you sound
wage.
like a libertarian on me again,
That's
Mike.
not libertarian.
See that? You sound a libertarian on me again.
That's not libertarian. That's freedom. And
Okay.
Republicans are just as much into freedom as libertarians are.
I'm not sure I'm going to go there. Joe, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. I want
All
to
right.
I want to bring up one thing with it, if I could, and that
Yes,
is
please.
eventually Trump goes away.
Yes.
Either he loses next year or he goes away in 4 years. Either
Right.
one of those two things is true. The Republican Party in many ways has become really about him. In many ways, it has really become about him.
According to the media.
I think according to many people.
Okay.
When I was out there campaigning, many people asked me a question, what do you think about Trump? What do you think about Trump? That was a very big, popular question I got. That's how they judged whether they could trust me or not, by how I felt about Trump. He's a major part of what it is to be a Republican right now. He's going to go away at one point.
Yeah.
How do you as a Republican deal with that vacuum that will eventually happen?
It's not a vacuum. It's a realization. Because Trump isn't the party. He isn't Republican values. It's just a reality. He is a Republican president. He wasn't always a Republican.
That's true.
Let's look at his history, folks. Just like they keep trying to say he's a racist. Really? Look at 30 years NAACP awards. I mean, there's lots of records. But here's the thing. I was a Republican before Trump was ever there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have very strong values that are Republican values. I'm going to be a Republican after he's gone. You could say the same thing for libertarians. Larry, you're a libertarian. If you don't run, does that mean the Libertarian Party in New York dies or anywhere else in the nation? No, it should never mean that. Why? Because you're an individual of the party, but the party is bigger than that.
But I loom nowhere near as large in the Libertarian Party than he does in the Republican Party.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah, but
I'm a very small fish compared to a Trump.
Okay, and let's look at Obama versus Obama. Did the Democratic Party suddenly die and disappear because President Obama wasn't around? No, it continues. It's bigger than that. It's we have to remember, and this is the problem of the media. They're trying to tell us, well, Republicans are only Trump. They're only this issue. They're only this idea. We're supposed to be, warmongers. We're supposed to, every horrible thing you could possibly imagine is suddenly supposed to be Republican. And it was always told, we're old white men, which I love it when I get it on Facebook and Twitter, where people tell me that I'm a white supremacist and I'm a Nazi. I'm like, have you looked at my picture? Okay. Have you heard me say anything?
I've dealt with that same issue.
Okay,
Yes.
we get this.
Got it. Yeah.
So, because we're not the choice that was programmed for us,
Right.
which as free-thinking people in America, we should be able to choose.
No, I get you.
So, when people say, well, it's about Trump, it's never been about Trump. It should never be about. If someone is saying that
should
it's about,
not be, but it sure feels like it is.
because guess who's saying it is? The media.
Yes,
MSNBC,
but left
CNN.
and right media, Fox is saying it too. It isn't. Fox is saying it. This isn't just MSNBC saying this.
Well, I'm saying media. I just happen to start with them.
Okay.
But no, I don't think media is right on this because the Republican Party didn't start with Trump. It's not going to end with him.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with him. It's about the values. As one of the great values I believe that the Republican Party has as a conservative Republican is, I want to teach you how to fish, not feed you a fish. I think if we stuck more to that
Sounds
value
libertarian
system,
to me, I'm
that's
saying.
not libertarian. That's
Sounds
that's Republican. It's in the Constitution.
Okay.
These are
Okay.
the pursuit of happiness clause. So, and they're not mutually exclusive.
Mhm.
You can, as a libertarian, you can have, and we do, have many of the same values. We sometimes have very different ways of getting there.
That's also true.
Which is
Yes.
where we have a lot of our arguments when
Absolutely.
we've done that. So I don't mind that. The bigger thing is I'm not defined by that person. You know?
No, I get you. All right,
And
look,
that's the problem.
here's what I want to say. Did you guys enjoy the show? We never got red flag laws.
I
I know we didn't. We just ran
guys,
out of time. I apologize.
red flag laws in New York State,
Horrible
129.
idea, terrible. We agree completely.
Separating
there.
kids.
Separating your property and then taking away your kids and putting you on a list and solving no problem.
No, with no crime done.
With no crime being done, yes.
I just want to throw that in.
We kind of covered it.
Yeah.
But guys, if you liked it, please remember, head over to sharpway.com, support it. And of course, go over to patreon.com/sharpway, support the show, and buy some swag. And please tell us, where can we get a hold of you?
Everyone can check me out at just go to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. No sound bites allowed. Real simple. Or put in Michael Vass, Vass. I'm in every search engine in the world. I was in Paris recently. I know I can find myself there at the top of the list. I wish Google would allow me to do that.
I'll put this data in the show notes after the show, guys. Thank you so much for being here today. I will see you guys next week right here on The Sharp Way.
Thank you.